What I'm talking about.
Robbie.
Sid, if you're listening at all while you're...
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall. Ooh, where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old? Or just me? Did all my friends get old? Or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told? Or just me?
Good morning and welcome to Old Town Cleveland here on WOOP FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.woopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. Debbie Moore, have you woke up and told us what's
What
going on?
month is it?
Yeah, it's April, Deb.
Last week I started out saying good morning and welcome to February 18th. This morning is April the 25th, 2015. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things this morning, but we're going to talk some about the murder of Sheriff Israel Smith in 1922.
Yes.
We have Chip Bryant and Elvis Brandon with us this morning, and we're going to tell you what we know, and we hope our listeners know a little bit, and we'll call in if that's some family members of yours that he was shot by the Boring brothers. And we know the Borings have lots and lots of relatives here in Bradley County, so if you know things that we don't know, we hope that you will call and let us discuss it. I understand that Special Olympics has been canceled.
Okay.
They
Good
had to postpone it once or twice, and they finally decided they just need to give it up this year and cancel it. So that's sad, because I know a lot of special athletes have trained for a long time, but those kinds of things happen, and we're having some crazy weather these days. We'd like to thank the Master Gardeners
Yeah,
who've come
four-week
out.
program.
Yeah.
They come out for the last 4 weeks, and they'll be back in the fall, and they may do something midsummer, come in and talk about midsummer gardening problems. So, and if you have any questions
Today we talked about seeds drowning.
Yeah, a lot of that. Good morning, Elvis Brandon. How you doing, sir?
Doing just great, Ron. Just great.
We're so excited to see you.
Yeah,
Hey.
Elvis.
Have you on board.
Elvis sang at our wedding just 36 years ago.
Just
Yeah.
about 36 years ago.
Yeah, it's coming up here in June. So I don't know if I told you thank you, Elvis, but thank you. Better late than never, right?
Absolutely, but let me tell you, it's great to see that I had something to do with the wedding that's
That's
36
stuck.
years old.
Oh yeah.
In this day and time, that's
Yeah.
there's so much that's not.
That just
We
proves-
decided that no one else would take either one of us, is the thing.
It just proves Deb's crazy.
Yeah.
Beyond it. Chip Bryan, how you doing, sir?
Good morning, Ron, Debbie. Good to see you guys. I want to
See
say
you.
a quick hello to my good friend Brad Millaway, who's the manager of the HVAC store for Wholesale Supply down on South
Oh, we
Coy
know
Street.
Brad.
You know
Good,
Brad?
yes.
He's listening this morning. He's a dear friend and has helped me a lot down through my HVAC career. Good morning, Brad.
I know he chats a lot with us on our Old Town
Yes,
Cleveland
yes.
Facebook page there.
Yes.
Seems to know a lot about history. This is a subject that we're going to talk about Jasper. Israel Smith.
Yeah.
Israel Smith and his family called him Adi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Adi.
Adi.
Now, we understand that Israel's house is still standing in Chattahoochee Valley.
Chattahoochee Valley. Okay.
And I hope that someone will come in. Someone had called in and told us that. And when I started asking, people said yes, yes. And they tried to tell me where it is, but I am not familiar with that valley. So I hope that someone will call in today and help us decide where that house is, because I'm still working on a house book. And I would love to include that.
He married a Bryant.
Bryan.
Bryan, and their family is still in this area.
I believe he first married Nora.
Nora, and she
Bryan.
died in 1917. and then in 1919 he married Nora's sister.
Julia.
So he married the second Brian, Bryan, Bryan, and they're buried together at Chattahoochee Valley, Friendship Baptist Church.
That's right.
That is
Across the road from the church. Yes.
That is a
Up on
gorgeous
the hill.
cemetery.
It sure is.
And immaculate.
Did you take the photograph and post it? Because
Yes.
I meant to
Yes.
go all week and never got out there.
Yes.
We did. We went up there yesterday morning when it was a beautiful day, but the wind was blowing. It was really cold. It didn't take us long to look at that cemetery. We took a picture of his grave and Nora's grave, and the enclosure they're in made me think that there was maybe some other graves there. Julia, after Israel's death,
They've been married about 3 years.
went on and married a Randolph, and Julia and her second husband are buried at Fort Hill. For those of you who do grave chasing, I call it.
So Israel Smith is the only sheriff in Bradley County history ever to be murdered. He was the first police officer ever in Bradley County since its creation in 1838 to be shot and killed. So, and fortunately, we haven't had a lot of officers killed in our history here in Bradley County. Unfortunately, we have some.
Yes.
Just a very limited amount, and that was too many. But he was the first. And Chip, tell us. I know you was very involved in helping bring the story to life and back to and getting the history saved some, and you got his part of South Lee Highway named the Israel Smith
Yes.
Memorial Highway. I know you were very involved in that, and you dedicated that on March 14th. What year?
2000, maybe 2001, right along in there. Yes.
March 14th was a very interesting date because that is the date of the murder of Israel Smith. Chip, give us a little summary. I know a lot
What
about
you
but
think happened.
Tell us what
Okay.
happened.
Well, I'll tell you how I came about to be interested in this. Is Sheriff Sam Cannon is the first sheriff I remember as a young boy in Cleveland. Maybe you could go back to Sheriff Smith. I don't know.
I have my junior.
That's right. We've talked about that.
I have my junior deputy badge on the top of my television.
He
at the
made
house.
me a junior deputy sheriff at George R. Stewart School many years ago.
I was at Oak Grove.
And even Jim Hodson, I think Jim still has his
Yes.
little
you
badge.
have your certificate, right?
Yes, and it's hung in my office for years.
Yeah,
It's not right now.
I don't have my certificate, but I got the badge.
I'll trade
We
you
were-
a certificate for the badge.
No. I don't need a certificate with Chip
that
Bryan on.
that badge is pretty impressive, actually, for something that
It
they
was a
gave
metal
away.
badge.
Yeah.
It wasn't a little toy. It was a heavy metal badge.
Do you know who paid for that program? We talked today about teaming up with local people and getting others to fund our efforts. The Reimer family from Magic
did you?
Chef. That's right.
Good.
So you-
Sheriff Cannon told me that.
You had to be in the 5th grade, I believe it was.
Probably.
And that's when you become a junior deputy. And it was exciting when you were a 4th grader. So next year I could be a junior deputy.
Well, we started that program, and we did that for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It has since moved on to other things, other interests. But for a long time, Sheriff Gilley went around to the various schools and made the young children junior deputy sheriffs in honor of Sam Cannon and memorializing
I
his.
know at the history branch in the photo collection, there's a picture of him presenting the badges to the 5th grade at Charleston. Modern technology,
But
but that's a great picture. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's in the auditorium there at Charleston, and there's some young men present. And I know if we could post that picture, that people would recognize themselves.
Sure, yeah.
I've just never thought to do it.
I'd run into Sheriff Cannon in town. Sometimes he'd go eat, and we'd see him up at Ryan's, and I would ask him about old cases. My initial interest was unsolved old cases, and I had a good opportunity to talk with Bernard Snyder also about that, and I discovered and have a list somewhere of cold cases, of murder cases that have never been solved in Bradley County.
Well,
And
I could name 2 or 3 off the top of my head.
really?
I probably won't name them right now, but
some of them are still kind of current, maybe.
well, there's one that I think probably a lot of people involved that we think who done it are still alive.
Yeah.
But now the lady that we found dead at the Beagle Club. it's never been solved.
Okay.
You remember that?
No.
Oh gosh, what was it? Ruth somebody.
Ruth at the Beagle Club. Where was it at, Ron?
The Beagle Club out towards Ladd Springs Road out in that way.
Although that was called Cowboys or
Something in that
something
area,
like that.
yeah.
Later on.
But somebody will call and tell me exactly where the Beagle. My brain, I'm searching around out through there, trying to see the Beagle, but it's leaned up against a tree and been murdered.
Yeah.
So
I ran into Sheriff Cannon, and I've just always loved Sam Cannon. I grew up hearing, Sam Cannon this, Sam Cannon that. And he was a good sheriff and a good person and did a lot for Bradley County. And when I got around him, I'd always start picking his brain. And one time I had about 45 minutes with him, and we're really getting deep into all this topic. And Frank Watson walked in, and I lost it. I knew when I saw Frank come through the door, I knew I just lost Sheriff.
Was he singing?
Yeah, he was singing, and he goes straight to Sheriff Cannon and just steals him away from me. And I never got to see Sam again after that. But in talking with Sam about officers who were killed in the line of duty and old cold cases, he mentioned Sheriff Israel Smith, and quite frankly, up to that time, I didn't grow up hearing about Israel Smith. There was
I had not heard
many
about it.
years that people in town didn't talk about it, and I said, "Well, what do you know about it?" He said, "Well, his grandson had been the preacher at Big Spring Methodist Church on Hardwick Street. Well, I grew up at Big Spring Baptist Church, and so we've always had some. They were a good neighbor of ours in the church work on the east side of town." So I called that gentleman, and he was retired in Chattanooga, and he is a grandson. I think he has since passed, but he was a grandson of Sheriff Israel Smith and Pastor Smith, and he had never met his grandfather. His grandfather actually died before he was born. And he sent me some pictures and kind of got me started on the right track. One day, Sheriff Cannon came over to the Justice Center on Johnson Boulevard with Bruce Renner. And I said, "Hey, Sheriff," and, I used that opportunity again to learn what I could. And he said, "Well, Chip, let me take you and show you where he was killed." I said, "Let's go." So I just told the boss, "I'll be back." And Bruce Renner drove us down to Owl Hollow. And Sam showed me exactly, in his mind, based on what he'd been told, where the body was found, where Israel Smith's body was laid. And a reference to that and them straightening out his body and putting his hat under his head is here in these writings this morning. I took several pictures of. And
now, what part of his body was he shot, Chip? Do you know?
Yes, a lower abdomen, and it severed an artery. And
he bled out.
He bled out right there. Probably died within a minute or two. And that bullet, by the way, we talked about this. Miss Campbell, our dear friend down on Varnell Road,
that we lost.
Yes.
Yeah, at 90 years young.
Yes, she had that bullet and always told me she'd give it to me if she could find it. But,
maybe Jill will find it someday and give it to you. I guess because her dad was a judge, she might have had it, or someone in the family was a doctor.
Her dad was a prosecutor.
Okay.
Was he not a prosecutor? With the district attorney's office, and maybe served as a general sessions judge also. But back then, the rules of evidence are different than they are now. And there's the bullet. Let me have it. And so
when everything's over and said and done, he took it.
That, and back then, well, even my time in law enforcement, I know Elvis can attest to this. The rules of evidence in court were strict, but out of court, it was just laid around sometime, literally.
We locked it in that closet out there in that little shed.
Where that rat was?
Yeah. The rat ate all the marijuana.
Yes,
yeah, that's habitable.
Bear.
Yeah.
His name was Bear.
Ron, tell that story real fast about Bear.
Well, when they tore down the old building there when we moved out,
yes.
Of course, my cable office was right behind there. Well, Bear moved to our office.
Oh, he did.
He come through the toilet system, though.
Story I wanted you to tell. I wanted you to tell
Anyway,
the marijuana story.
Bear came up through the toilet. Unfortunately, there was a female in there when that happened.
It didn't take her long to look at
But
Bear.
Bear was he would get up on the garbage can and would fight you.
Oh, really?
No, he had long hair and he had them little square sunglasses. I mean, he ate all that marijuana in the storage closet, and he was
wanting more, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he wanted to make some brownies.
That's a good story.
I contacted the Bryan family about possibly seeing. Surely they have another picture of Israel Smith, and the person I contacted said she did not, but that she's searching for one now. So we may actually get another picture of him.
And maybe his his sidearm is in that family.
I
Yes,
know. I would
that's what
love
we-
to photograph that sidearm and maybe
Yes, so-
I'll look for that
touch it.
too.
Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah.
do that. He had just made a comment the day before in an interview with the Herald that he'd never had an opportunity to use his pistol
Right.
in the line of duty. And I don't know if they went and shot back then like we have to and qualified. I don't. Who knows? Probably not.
No.
You know,
Doubt it. I doubt
they
it.
were
Yeah.
raised rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting. Probably.
I love to hear Eddie Cartwright's story about his dad. His dad started out as a dispatcher, but he had to have a pistol or something. But just the fact that you had to buy your own pistol.
Well, I did,
and that's
Debbie.
still in his family.
Yeah.
That was like
did
the sheriff's
too.
department in
Okay.
modern time.
I went to work for Sheriff Robert Lawson when he was still a young sheriff and a young man.
Yeah.
And they told me, you go buy your uniform, buy your gun. Elvis, same thing. I'm sure he worked for Lamar Lawson, Sheriff Lawson.
Yeah.
And you bought, and you just cared about pretty much whatever you wanted to, you know.
Yeah, well,
And that dispatcher's office was shot up. I mean, listen,
You even
Yeah.
had to buy pay for your bond.
you did, didn't you?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. And still make $3 an hour.
You bought your badge, and
When you get a raise,
well, I think when Lamar started, it was you worked 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts.
6 days a week, 12-hour shift, and got paid $600 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A month.
And see, Ron was one of those volunteers that came in and he'd work Sunday night so the sergeant could have a day off.
We finally got enough reserves in there. Robert had became sheriff.
Yeah.
We got it, and Dan and Robert worked and got enough reserves so that they could get them to 8-hour shifts 5 days a week.
Yes.
And the reserves had to help supplement that. And one time we could only have like 5 or 6.
Well, you know, the judge had to approve it.
Yes.
The sheriff couldn't just put on him when he wanted to,
Yes.
unless it was an emergency and there was a posse law.
Right.
But just for everyday doings, the judge had to approve how many field deputies you
That was
had.
called
my,
field deputy.
My dad was a field deputy.
Yes.
I worked for you.
Yes.
And it was therein where my interest in law enforcement began back in the early 80s.
Well, were you not a reserve officer at one time
Yes,
also?
1981. I was reserved for about 6-8 months. And Lewis Jones, my good friend, if he's listening this morning, went to work at Cleveland Police Department, and I got his position. So Dan Gilly says, Chip, we
So
need
Lewis did something good.
Yes, yeah.
It's one thing. Well, now, what would always amaze me, what would amaze people now, you know, there's cars all over the county now, thankfully.
Yes.
But like on Sunday nights when Ron would work, it would be he and one other car,
A lot of times.
if that car was running.
You
Oh, it had broke down. I had been going on, turn on my blue lights and siren, and cars passed me.
He's running emergency traffic, and the
the
car's
car
driving the
wouldn't
speed limit.
Well, you
or
ever
past
turned
him.
on your lights and siren, the car dies?
Oh, yeah.
You know, because of the pull, the voltage pull. Oh my goodness.
I died on the interstate one night, and of course the radio was out, and we didn't have walkie-talkies. We just sit on the side of the road
Till someone comes and finds
somebody
you.
find me.
Well, this is a true story. I was driving those old cars out Mouse Creek Road, answering a call, 2 a.m. in the morning, 1981 probably. I was a full-time officer, and something happened. I felt something in the back end, and Phil Cannon was with me, of all people. And Phil says, "What's that going down the road, Chip?" And the left rear tire wheel had come off, come in behind me, and then passed me going down the road. And I said, I don't know what that is, Phil. And finally, of course, I had to pull beside the road. The whole wheel broke off, just broke, and there it went.
Well, we had holes in the floor. Elvis, you came in 72?
74.
74, okay. And there's a lot of cars didn't even have radios in them, did they?
Well, let me think a minute. We only had 5 automobiles at the time. Wow. And that included the sheriff's car and everything. I finally got one after about a year. But I drive one of the patrol cars home at night because we didn't have enough officers to fill them up and back because I needed a car all the time. I was on call 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, after about a year, I got a car, and it was a good one. Best car I ever drove, I guess.
Oh, what about that?
No, it had that Pontiac.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it, but they got the bid. I took it out down the interstate, and Robert Lawson was a detective. He couldn't believe it. 120 miles an hour, just easy.
Fastest car ever.
We're glad you're
probably.
still here, Elvis.
Yeah. You can confess to anything you want today, Elvis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Time limitation
But,
has expired.
I remember those days very well. Now, of course, the reason I knew Lamar Lawson was because he had this good-looking young daughter named Connie.
There you go. Good morning, Connie.
Connie and I graduated high school together,
Yes.
so that's how I got to know Lamar and had been involved in his campaigns,
Yes.
previous campaigns.
Sure.
That was his 3rd time running, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think
this
so.
fourth maybe.
Yeah,
'Cause
I remember.
he lost. He finally won that by what 62 votes.
I think so.
Was that all?
Yeah, well, I turned 18 in time to vote for him, so I'm probably one of the reasons he got elected.
Well, I didn't know him at all.
Uh-huh.
I was at Cleveland State, and I got a call from a friend of mine, Ed Barrett.
Mhm.
Said, I got somebody down here who wants to talk to you. So I said, okay. So I was riding a motorcycle all the time, and my hair was a little long. And anyway,
How old were you then?
let's see.
25, 26?
No,
little
20, 28. Let me see. That's 74. I was born in 38, so that's 24, 26 years old. Anyway, I got off my motorcycle and went in, and Lamar was there. We got talking. He said, I want to talk to you about becoming my chief deputy. I said, huh? Never dreamed of it, you know. And we talked a while, and I asked him what he planned to do and what his philosophy was and everything. I said, I'll tell you what, I've got to have 3 things before I can give you an answer. He said, what's that? I said, I'll talk it over with my wife. I said, now I'll make the decision, but she has the input, you know. And I said, then I've got a couple of friends I want to ask about what they think about it. One of them was John Holden. The other one was Claude Clymer.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I said, then I've got to pray about it and see if that's the Lord's will. So that went on about a week, and I did all these things and everything. I called him back, and I said, if you still want me, I'll be your chief deputy. Yeah. And he said, good. Said, meet me at the city police department, and we'll go get something done, or bond, I think it was. I said, what time? He told me. I said, I can't. I'd rather go get a haircut. Go get a haircut. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah,
We'll
he
get together later.
He did like that. Oh, those are good. You know, Chip and I are going to remember those days. Remember that. And now on Boring, he was going
Wait a
to.
minute, let's start at the beginning of that story and let Chip tell. Or go ahead and do whatever.
Israel Smith.
But we started talking at the end of the story.
Why did he go down there? Why did he go to McDonald's?
Okay, had information there was a illegal moonshine still. Keep in mind that would be like today's officers saying there's an illegal methamphetamine lab over here. I mean, it was a very serious thing to the folks back then. We're talking about the time of Prohibition, and alcohol was the scourge of society.
This is 1922.
Yes, and of course some citizens would still say that it is. But anyway, it certainly was in those days. And I don't know how they got information. There was probably concerned citizens who would give information. Certainly the Boynes had to purchase some of the raw materials, sugar and that sort of thing. And I don't know exactly how that information came to the sheriff. He and 2 of his deputies went down there, probably had gone to moonshine still raids a lot down through the years, probably. We do know that Owl Hollow was a place for moonshine stills. As a matter of fact,
the water's good.
The water's good. You can still find down there, if you go look, barrels, rusted out barrel bottoms and sides and metal that one could maybe think at one time was involved.
That whole ridge up through there from,
Yes.
across from Owl Hollow, we go Mountain Road back in there.
Yes.
They're moonshine stills back
You
there.
can see the circles where they burned too. I mean, they'd be charcoaled if you dug down below the
Yes.
vegetation.
Interestingly, that's the Stansberry's property. Dr. Stansberry owns that property. I think his daddy purchased it years ago to turkey hunt on, according to information I got from Lisa. And probably the right where Sheriff Smith was shot and killed is owned by the Stansberry family today. And of course, it's a popular area. I think we've finally got.
So you said Dr. Stansbury could have been a moonshine?
I think so.
No.
They go but I don't know, Debbie. You may know. I'm not sure that the Bournes lived there because Mr. Easterly told me right below our school down there, Debbie, where you work and I live. There's a cabin up behind Mr. Easterly's home. He once said that's where the Bourne family lived, but they could have been tenements. Don't know.
That little house right behind his house.
It's a cabin. Yes.
Yeah, I think that a variety of people lived there that actually worked on the farm. Because I know someone else that occupied in the 40s that house.
Yeah, the Boring family still was when I remember back when I worked at the sheriff's department. Borings were still prominent in the McDonald area. There.
Okay.
And I'm sure they still are.
Probably.
Remember Frank Boring?
Yes.
Yes. He was down in that area.
Right.
And so that, so there are a lot of Borings. And somebody told me who the Boring families were married into. I can't remember who they are. But I think they were all born in Monroe County, what I read somewhere.
I have a brother-in-law who's a Boring. Dennis Boring married my wife's sister, and he's a wonderful man. You
Didn't know that. I know
Yeah.
Dennis.
Now, is he from the McDonald area also?
Yes, as a matter of fact, right down Mineral Park Baptist Church, right back in there is where his brother lives.
Probably related
Probably.
in that family there.
I need to ask Dennis.
Yeah.
There's a G.G. Bryant, a jailer who went with Sheriff
Yeah.
Smith, but I have never grew up with my family talking about him. So there's another set of Bryants in Cleveland. So there's a presumption that he is from that other.
It could be part of your family. Huh?
But it could be,
Okay,
but I
so-
would think is involved in public safety as I've been on. Surely someone would have told me.
So now, what happened? He went on a raid.
Yes, they go down to Owl Hollow, and I don't want to read. Now, Debbie said I might be able to read a little bit.
Go ahead and read.
Okay, Benton, Tennessee. This is actually about the capture. This is more about the capture of the Borings. We just know that they went to the site of the raid, and bullets were flying, and Israel Smith took a bullet to the stomach, and it severed an artery, and he died laying there. We know that Deputy G.G. Smith and another gentleman was with them. They gave pursuit. One of them actually turned Israel Smith over on his back, put his hat under his head, and then took off after the assailants. Here's an interesting tidbit that I bet neither one of you know. I'm down visiting Glenn Cantrell back 4 or 5 years ago, and we get to talking about this because it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
He could have maybe heard the gunshots back then.
Yeah.
He said his daddy always told him that those boys, the Boring boys, came running down the road, and one of them had his hand wrapped up, was bleeding. And old man Cantrell says, "Hey, what happened to your hand there?" But his wife cut my hand. "Where y'all going in such a hurry?" "Well, we heard that our daddy's sick over in Meigs County, and we're taking off over there to go see our daddy." But so they were in a big hurry, and they were running and bleeding. Now, I don't know. That doesn't match.
That's a good run to Meigs County.
Yeah, it sure is. Of course, back then, that's how you would go.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of people walked and hit strides. And there's no doubt that that murder had just happened, and they were fleeing the scene. There's just no doubt, and in my opinion, because Mr. Cantrell knew the Boring boys. I mean, when you see those two guys together, you knew it was trouble probably. Somehow they made their way to Polk County, up around
Parksville, wasn't it?
Parksville area, Archville.
Greasy Creek.
Did we know what-
Archville is Greasy Creek.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah, pretty close.
So, and the murder happened on March the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
No, yes. Well, this is on the 18th. Friday afternoon, two men were seen crossing Parksville Lake in a Batua, which
Have no
a
idea.
Bateau, which is probably a little skip or something, and they seemed to have a rifle each. Upon landing on the north shore, about 4 miles southwest of Archville, they seemed about the size and build of Luther and Jasper Boring. They were being hunted, of course, by Bradley County, charged with the murder of Sheriff Smith while he was making a raid on their still in the White Oak Mountains. Sheriff Bell, who was the Polk County sheriff, when he arrested Worth Boring, and I imagine Worth was their dad, and he'd arrested
Worth's a brother.
He's a brother, so there's three.
Worth's brother
Okay.
was a brother. He's buried out here at Prospect.
2 days before, learned from him that their father had a cousin living in Polk County. With these two clues, after consultation with his deputies, Thursday night until 11 o'clock, the sheriff decided to go to his cousin's house and did so. And reaching the vicinity about 1:30 Friday morning, the house is about a mile down Greasy Creek from the Baptist church by the side of the Kimsey Mountain Highway, where the Archville Post Office Road turns down the creek from the main road. Debbie, is that
Oh, lovely.
I know. The Boring residents, the former Ellie Reimer dwelling, this is good reading right here.
Reimers lived in Greasy Creek.
Did
yeah.
they? A store and gristmill place. There's a store there in the gristmill. It's near the mill and dam where the road crosses the creek amongst black bass of a pound or two.
They just throw in a few details there,
Yeah,
don't they?
and it runs between the house and the shop in which their hunting dogs sleep. Is that not funny writing from those days? Sheriff Gilley, who had a journalism major, he loved that reading and the way people wrote. The officer stayed 3 hours, 150 yards behind the house. Sheriff Bell slipped down and found the doors to the back room next to the creek locked and barred from the inside, and he would not try to force an entrance, but decided to wait until daylight, when the family would get up. Near daylight, they saw Mrs. Boring open the door to the front room, go into the kitchen into a separate building. Sheriff Bell and Deputy J.N. Woody, and we have Woodies in Cleveland, rushed in through the open door, through a partition door, and to one of the 4 beds in the back room, in which they found the 2 Borings wanted in Bradley County.
They were still asleep in bed.
They woke them up,
And they were so proud that they didn't have to fire shots. to catch
I think the cousin's name was Steve Boring.
Steve Boring.
And it's something else interesting. They got a lot of information in that article, but they spelled their name wrong.
they did. I noticed some misspells.
It's Borin in all the articles out of Polk County, but it's the Borings, Boring. But in that article, but they had all the other details right.
Yes, and they actually had a 6-shooter. They were sleeping with it, and during the struggle to get them in custody, they were reaching down under the covers. One of them was even trying to pull the covers up over his head. I guess that's hoping this will go away. And
That's like what the boogeyman,
Yeah, the boogey,
just
and
cover your
so
head.
an interesting point here is Miss Bourne cooked them all breakfast. And they all agreed to eat
deputies
breakfast.
and everybody.
The deputies and everybody. They sat down at the table, and she cooked them breakfast. Is that not
I
amazing?
love it.
Well, you couldn't stop at McDonald's out there at 411 or
They were
Hardee's.
hungry.
You know,
Yeah,
they
that
were
was
hungry,
well.
yeah.
Now, was it Israel
I
Smith?
guess you kind of hope that if you do that, they will be kind to your relatives as they take them in.
No, Sheriff Smith was shot. It was early in the morning when they were there, wasn't it? 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or something?
I didn't
think.
know it was. I think it was
Yeah,
daylight.
3 a.m.
Oh, was it 3 a.m.? I know they
I
left
read
Cleveland
that
at 3 a.m.
I read an article somewhere. It's at 3 a.m.
It said they left Cleveland at 3 a.m. So it was a surprise raid early morning, probably. More than likely. I'd love to see the car.
Apparently,
he
the
drove
moonshiners
down.
is already up, though.
Wonder where the car is that he drove down.
I
there.
don't
But
know.
yeah.
One of the articles that I read this morning, and folks, you kind of have to. I have never gone and tried to find these articles in the correct sequence. The articles that I read were out of Clemmer's scrapbook, and so they, I'm sure there's articles missing there, and so you kind of have this hodgepodge of things. But they said that they went to the Boring's house, and his wife and all their young children were there. One of them's wife and young children were there, and they went to they obviously were not hiding in the house, so they went to the barn, and the mules were gone. So they were sure that they had ridden the mules wherever they went.
Yeah.
So they left here on mules heading towards Polk County.
I think there was 4 brothers, and Jake Boring was their father.
Yes.
And then there was Charles, William, which was Worth, and then Luther and Jasper.
Cut line here under this picture.
Yeah.
If you'll notice in this picture, Debbie,
I love the dress that
this
they
is
have
the
on.
rock wall that is still over there at the Polk County Sheriff's
Oh,
Office. That
okay.
rock wall, if you're sitting at the intersection on 411 Highway, downtown Benton, that rock wall is still there. And even in some older Polk County courthouse photographs, the rock wall is there. So those stones... And you can see the
that
seal
at the courthouse?
At the courthouse,
Okay.
presumably at Polk County. But get this: the squad of fearless mountaineer defenders of the law probably will pull down the reward of $2,000 offered for the capture and conviction of Luther and Jasper Bourne, members of the famous Bourne family, which has figured in so many tragedies in the Appalachians, who are charged with the murder of Sheriff Smith of Bradley County last week. It took courage and coolness of execution for these men to invade the home of the one of the Bourne family and get these 2 men whose accuracy of rifle aim is a tradition among the mountaineers. A case of getting the drop, unquote, quote unquote, or meeting the fate of Sheriff Smith met a few days before. It's a perilous job that these men have in grappling with the moonshiners among the forests and gulches of the mountains, where every turn in the mountain path offers opportunity for an ambuscade. That's the term.
Ambuscade.
Yes,
Okay.
unbelievable. I've never heard that word. And men whose aim is unerring stand ready to fire on the officer of the law at sight.
I love how they're dressed.
I know, yeah.
Let's
Folks,
get
you're
this call.
listening to
Sorry.
Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We got Elvis Brandon and Chip Bryan here. We're talking about the murder of Israel Smith, Sheriff Israel Smith, the only sheriff ever murdered in Bradley County.
1922.
And we'll talk a little bit about some more modern day stuff a little later on about just the sheriff's department in general. And it's always good to see Elvis Brandon out again. He's come out of hiding today.
We're glad
And
to
we
see
told him the statute of limitations was over, and so that's the thing. So we got a call coming here. Let's see what. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey, this is Mr. Moon. I just want to tell you that Southern Tradition is going to be at Birchwood tonight, 7 o'clock.
All right, and 7 to about 9:30.
About that, yeah.
Okay, and still gonna have barbecue.
Oh, yes, every time.
All right. Tell me, what's $5 at the door?
Yeah, Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
$5. That's across from the old Birchwood School out there.
Yes, sir. Sure is.
So, and at 7 o'clock, and tell us who the band is again?
Southern Tradition.
Southern
Probably
Tradition.
the best country band around.
Oh, they are very good. Yeah. So, all right.
Thank you so much, and please continue to call. We love to help spread the word.
Well, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
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 Now, that's my kind of time. Go at 7 o'clock at night to 9:30. Ron asked people the other day on Facebook what their favorite late night show was, and someone said the 6:30 news.
Oh, congratulations to you guys.
We have a brand new
Yes.
granddaughter,
that
Harper,
Harper?
that was born Tuesday. As her big sister says, Hopper.
Hey, good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning. It's Lisa Poe Jones.
Hey, Lisa, how are
Lisa,
you?
what's up, sister?
I'm good. Well, we'll say hi to Chip and hi to Mr. Brandon. But
Hey.
I'm at work and I couldn't hear everything that you said. Did you say these people who ambushed Sheriff Smith lived on the property that's now owned by Dr. Stanberry?
Oh,
Out on White
Well,
Oak Mountain.
yes, it's in White Oak Mountain off of Owl Hollow Road, and the Stanberry family owns several acres down that valley and up on the mountain. And I would estimate maybe 100, 200 acres is owned by them. Okay. Where Sheriff Sam Cannon took me, we're not absolute for sure that where he showed me is within their property line. I don't know, but it's always been thought that, yes, Sheriff Smith was killed.
Yeah, and we're not sure if John Stansbury's still making moonshine down there or not.
Right, yes.
We're
Lisa
not
may
sure.
be.
We're not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is this Dr. Cecil Stanberry's property?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I have a bunch of boys outside working on an Eagle project right now who are in his troop, and he has always kind of talked about doing a camp out on his property, and that would probably be a great thing to do.
I think that would be fun. You need to get Chip to come down and tell them the story.
Yeah, that would be good. Yes. Yeah, we'll come down, bring a couple of deputies. My son's a deputy. We'll come down one night, get a fire going and tell the story. Maybe Elvis will come with us. Yeah.
That would be a great thing to do.
I think that's a good way. That's the kind of thing that makes kids interested in history.
Is there a cave somewhere down there?
They said that Borings wanted to hide out in a cave on their property, but we're not sure
exactly where all that is.
There's a tunnel that I've walked that goes under the interstate. The road.
Well, the interstate wasn't there then.
That's true. Oh, really?
Or the Borings would have got to Polk County faster.
But the other side of Bradley County,
Yeah.
you can't get to unless you're going to Hamilton County.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other side of the ridge, the other side of the interstate.
Lisa, that sounds like a great plan. I love the fact that Chip, as he said, would be able to come out and get those kids really interested in history.
And my wife's at home rolling her eyes saying, Chip, why do you commit yourself to those things all the time?
That's what we do.
Because that's what we do, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go out and tell them. So
Thanks, Lisa.
Right,
Bye-bye. That sounds like a lot of fun.
That does, yes.
I was going back to this picture of the deputies, how neat they dressed, and I want to. Would you, Chip,
Yes.
read the
We gotta-
names of the people?
got a call here.
Oh, okay. Chip's ready.
Go ahead, caller. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Deb and Ron. How's it going?
Hey, Bullet, how you
what's
doing?
up, buddy?
Young was talking about getting badges from Sheriff Sam Cannon. I actually got one. I went to Blythe Avenue over there, and I think it's in the 4th grade when I got that badge.
Yeah, it's 4th or 5th grade.
Wow. Do you still have it?
Huh?
Do you still have yours?
I misplaced it. I wish I still had it. But Young's are talking about famous sheriffs. I've been doing some background on Buford Pusser,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think he was the first sheriff that ever killed a woman in Tennessee.
Gosh, I don't know about that. It wouldn't surprise me.
Which woman did he?
I have a good friend who knew Buford Pusser, Nick Emmons. I believe he passed away recently. He was a good friend, and they were in the McNairy County JCs, and and Buford Pusser sat on the dunking booth, and then got off the dunking booth and went out and crashed his car and died. He had actually been at the JC Fair.
You don't think he was murdered, do you, Ron?
The people out there think he was.
Well, I do too, really. But anyway, I'm in doing a lot of background on Buford Pusser. I'm a fan of sheriffs, and I'm gonna try to go visit his grave when it's time for when I get a little better.
Well, they got the family runs a restaurant over there, the Pusser family in McNairy County, and then there. If you watch the Walking Tall movie, the original one,
yeah,
the story has some holes in it. There's he did get shot that many times and all that, but he had been the Adamsville police chief
Yeah.
They said he had never been in law enforcement and got elected, but he had actually been in law enforcement a little bit. So there's some holes in the story, but pretty much the story's accurate besides that.
Yeah,
On,
sure is. I appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you,
Thank you.
Bullet.
Go ahead, Elvis.
Go ahead, Elvis.
Let me tell you, my aunt, my dad's sister, her family lived in Selma,
Yeah.
and that's where Buford Pusher patrolled and was. And I used to go down there in the summertime with my cousin to stay 1 or 2 weeks, and I got to see Buford Pusher in action, not arresting someone, but he drove those back roads flying, and he could handle a car. I have my serious doubts that he lost control of that Corvette accidentally, because he just drove. He was a great driver, and I remember when he came to Cleveland, he was back in, what's his name for governor?
I don't know. I didn't know he's here.
Winfield Dunn? No,
Yeah.
no.
What?
No, was it
Brandon, not Brandon. I'm sorry, Blanton.
Blanton?
Blanton.
A ray of Blanton sunshine.
There you
Yeah.
go.
he come to Cleveland State, and that's closest I met him, shook hands with him, and everything. I had seen him from afar, but you know what registered on my mind is how big he was, and his shoes looked like they were that long, about
Big
16
shoes.
feet. He had big feet.
That's what Nick Emmons told me. He was the principal of the McNairy County High School out there, and he said, "Ron, you're a big boy, but his Buford Pusser made you look like a
Oh,
midget."
absolutely.
Yeah.
Big old guy.
He's one of the biggest men I've ever seen.
He was a big, strong guy. But like I say, he did do all the stuff that you talk about. He did do that, and then some of it's, a little blown out of proportion in the movie or a little inaccurate. But like most real-life stories, they do take some liberties there. Go ahead, caller. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
Hey there. I was on Facebook last night, and I talked to Chip Bryant about my grandfather being killed in Polk County in Copper Hills Well and being a deputy sheriff.
Yes.
And Frank Clayton.
Frank Clayton, there you go.
Yeah.
And he asked that I call in with a few details that maybe someone else could give us information on it.
Now, he was murdered, what, in the 40s?
He was murdered between 45 and 46. I don't have the exact month.
Okay. And he was answering a call maybe at a bar?
He was going to look for a guy that was AWOL from the Army.
Okay. And at the time, his wife, was she pregnant?
I don't think my grandmother wasn't his wife. My grandmother was, I don't know, just somebody that he was seeing.
Okay.
And so, but my mother, I understood that she was pregnant, but I just spoke with her, and she said that she was almost 10 years old, so that it would have been around 1945 when he was
okay.
He was killed.
The reason I'm blowing all this out at you is that we've been interviewing people in the Ducktown area. Mm-hmm. And one of the ladies that we interviewed was probably a young child, maybe 6 years old, when Frank was killed. And they lived across the street.
Okay.
And she talks about someone came and told the wife that her husband, or the woman, that her husband had been killed.
Right.
And she just remembers the reaction as a child. Mm-hmm. And she thought it had something to do with that he may have been killed by the Good Government League, or I don't know which side of that.
Well, the story that we were told is that Frank was running for sheriff against Biggs,
Yes.
B-I-G-G-S, and that Biggs had been sheriff for quite a while, so that we were told, according to the story, that it was for hire, that Biggs or somebody, not necessarily Biggs, had my grandfather killed because of the election. Now, that's the story we were told.
Well, when she was telling me the story, it was mixed in with the political issues of the area. So that might be someone that you might just like to talk to, and I can hook you up with her.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her grandfather was the county physician for a number of years.
Oh, okay.
And they had moved up to, I think they were actually living in McKaysville.
Yeah, now they had a sheriff killed in Polk County also, didn't they? In Copper Hill?
I've never really branched over into
There were two people that were killed, and Frank Clayton was one, and I remember the name Clayton because that's part of my family name too, although I can't connect to them.
Frank's father's name is Allison Clayton.
Uh-huh.
And he was also with Frank that night with an officer called Shorty Inslee.
Yes. Now, in recent days, there's a Facebook page called the Pictorial Preservation of Copper Hill or something, and someone posted a picture of two of the officers, and one of them had been killed, and I can't tell you the name now, but I'm sure it wasn't the Clayton guy. Do you have a picture of Frank Clayton?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I have many.
Well, do you have a picture of him in uniform?
I'm not sure. I know that Mom has several of them, so I'm not sure.
I would really like to see I would really like to see a picture of him, and I don't know if that part. We're making a documentary about that town, Copper Hill area, and I don't know if that story will actually make the final cut. But if it does, it would be really nice to have a picture of him to show.
Oh yeah, I do history, but that's the reason I'm all up in this. And I do tracking, so I've been to Frank's grave, Allison's grave, all this. But anyway, when I finally found a picture of him, I actually lost my breath because my mom could be his twin.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
There's
There's
a crazy family historian in every family.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
That wants to write everything down. I go to the family reunions. I can't tell you 10 of the live people's names, but I can tell you about all 200 of the dead ones.
Deb's,
I have been to graveyards. I've tracked my grandfather's back 16 generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Now, Reverend Elijah Clayton's in your family, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes. I'm out of that family, too, but I can't hardly hook on to Reverend Elijah. I think I'm out of one of his nephews.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
Well, welcome to the family.
There we go. My mom was a Clayton.
Oh, well, see, my mom is too. So
there you go.
There you go.
Thank you so much for
getting in contact with this lady that may have the information.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You were speaking that she had talked about witnessing it as a
Yes.
child.
I'll private message you on Facebook.
That would be
and if
great.
I forget you, remind me. This is Debbie.
I will definitely do that.
All righty. Well, thank you. Chip, did you have any more questions for her?
Thank you, ma'am, and we'll help however we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.
We were talking again about the deputies here, and it's such a wonderful picture. They have the boots up to their knees, the riding boots, and the big hats that aren't cowboy hats, but they're definitely very interesting outfits.
Narrow when people. Who was the you're going to read the names there of those?
Oh
people.
yeah, who are those deputies?
Okay, the deputies would be reading from the left to right is Deputy Woody, Sheriff Bell, the Sheriff of Polk County, ex-Sheriff Lillard, and Deputy Payne, but doesn't give us their first names.
Now, Abe Lillard has lots and lots of relatives here in Bradley County and Polk County.
Well, the Lillard name, I mean, they run Polk County pretty much.
Well, the Woodies up there. Jasper Woody used to run WBIN radio up there.
There you go.
There's a lot of Woodies, and on out Benton Pike, there's some Woodies out there at farm. So there's a lot of Woodies in the Polk County.
But isn't it interesting, the cooperation between Bradley County and the Polk County officials? I mean, that's really interesting. That same kind of cooperation exists today. It has down through the ages.
Chip had mentioned where Israel Smith was buried, and Ron and I went up there and took pictures this week. And the thing that we noted is that he has a Masonic emblem on his grave, but there's no indication there that he was sheriff or that he was murdered in the line of duty. And I would really like to see some kind of small plaque added to show those two things.
You know, Debbie, we worked together with Jim Hodson, the FOP, to mark Bradley County's first sheriff. You actually were instrumental in us finding that grave, and we raised some money through the FOP organization. And if we could raise some money, it would probably take $300-400 to mark that grave and to honor Sheriff Smith.
Well, we work on that.
Yeah.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Yes, I was listening to your program. I enjoy it. My name is Betty Lillard.
Hi, Betty. Lillard.
And my grandfather was G.G. Bryant.
Oh.
General Grant Bryant.
General Grant.
And I've always heard the story that he been over Sheriff Israel when he was shot, and he had on a long-tailed overcoat, and they shot through the overcoat tail.
Wow.
Of Sheriff Smith, right?
No, it's her grandpa.
Okay, so your grandfather took a shot also, but it missed.
Yeah.
Oh, see, now that's not part of the story. That's brand new information.
I love that.
Would you still have the overcoat?
No, I don't.
Okay.
This
Well-
happened 9 years before I was born.
Well, let me ask you something, Miss Betty. I'm a Bryant also.
I know.
Okay. Do you think there's any connection between my family and yours? I know there's 3 sets of Bryants in Cleveland, so.
I don't think we talked over at church one Wednesday night, and we decided we weren't any kin.
Over at Big Spring Methodist Church.
Yes.
You're right. I was over there doing some HVAC work. Yes. I recall that. I sure do. And we talked because your pastor was a grandson of Sheriff Israel Smith at one time.
Yes.
Now, is he still alive?
My grandpa.
No, Pastor Smith.
Oh, I don't think
I think
he
so.
is.
Okay, I had talked to him on the phone a time or two, and of course he had never met his grandfather, but he was so appreciative of the interest that our department was showing in his.
Now, do you have a picture of Mr. Bryant?
No, I don't.
Well, it'd be
well,
nice if we had
His name is General what?
Grant.
General Grant.
Grand Bryant.
Well, he's right here in this picture.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Jailer G.G. Bryant
Yeah.
is in this photograph here.
With
I
the
know,
steel.
With the steel. I know our listeners can't see it, but
So there is a picture of him.
I would have to figure out exactly which one he
I
is.
think there's a picture hanging in the jail, too.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That's the one I brought with me today. I went to the jail and walked out with this with this framed picture.
And he'll be back in jail tonight.
Yes, it'll be hanging back. Sheriff Watson allowed me to get it for the day's story.
And his brother's name was Colonel Bryant.
Colonel in general. That's interesting. Yes.
No Civil War ties there at all, right?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
That's funny.
I don't know too much about it, but it's good to listen to your program.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Betty, for calling in. And Chip's going to make a note of that story, and maybe at some point in time it'll become part of it. So your grandpa had on a big overcoat, and he bent down. He was down close to Sheriff Smith, and the bullet actually passed through the overcoat and then struck Smith.
That's the
Okay.
story I've always been told.
Okay. Okay.
That is amazing.
Okay. So we're saying there was one shot fired. It goes
Right.
through the undercoat, the
overcoat,
overcoat,
and
and
then
then into Sheriff Smith. Is that right, Miss Betty?
Yes.
I don't know if it went into Sheriff Smith.
Oh, okay.
It may have been a different shot.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
different shot. Yes.
He been over him, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is after he shot and he bent
Oh,
over
okay,
him.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to I was trying to get the facts straight before we got it in our part of our story. Thank
So,
you, Miss
did
Betty.
you
That's
hear-
interesting.
Did you ever hear anything else about the murder or that time?
No, that's about all I know about it.
Well, that's more first-hand knowledge than most of us has now.
That's true.
That's good stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm wondering if Elvis has any old pictures from the sheriff's department back then that we could get a hold of.
I doubt that I do. We didn't take many pictures, to be honest with you.
Well, you know why? Because the deputies had to pay for them to be developed.
Absolutely.
And that's the truth. yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, you paid for it
And,
yourself. Yeah.
You know, you talking about having to pay for everything. Ed Barrett, who was a friend of mine and everything, loaned us cars off his car lot for undercover
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Really. Yeah.
Who loaned them?
Ed Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
He had a used car lot, and he'd loaned the sheriff's department a couple of cars for the officers to go out undercover.
Do
and,
surveillance and follow people
right.
around. Yeah. What
Right,
about that?
because we didn't have enough cars to staff the people.
Well, when I went to work there, we didn't have a copying machine. If you wanted to make a copy of your paperwork, you had to go to the Cleveland Police Department.
That's
Write
right.
it again. Write it again.
And you didn't dare, you didn't dare put your offense report in the basket. It may come up missing, you know.
Absolutely.
Someone wants it, they
Well,
need the information, they take off with it.
I remember over the old jail, we couldn't find the keys half the time.
I know that.
The trustees had the keys, and
Hey, a quick story. We were preparing to move into Johnson Boulevard, and we hired this jail administrator from parts unknown.
what Tommy?
No, it wasn't Tommy Tawakin. He was a great guy.
Yeah.
But this new guy, and I'm not going to call his name, but he was trying to change the the way we did business. Well,
Yeah.
back then, Ron, they'd come in off the road, and you'd get the shotgun, and you'd open up for breakfast, and you'd go upstairs with the shotgun, and you'd pull all those big levers and get the trustees out so they could help Miss Murray cook breakfast. Well, I came in that day to do that, and I had my sidearm, of course, a .357 Magnum and that shotgun. Well, this guy jumped all over me. This new guy said, well, buddy, what do you mean? He said, you can go to jail for having that firearm up there in the secured area. Well, that was as foreign to me. I couldn't believe what he was saying. Well, I was probably pretty mouthy back then. I said something back to him. And so I'll go back on the road working, and they called me and said, 708, go ahead. Been right to Sheriff Lawson's house in Foxfire, which scared me to death. I thought, well, this is it. This is it. I'm fired as sure as the world. And my foot was shaking on the brake. I remember I couldn't hardly even drive. I thought, well, this is it. What am I going to do? What am I going to tell my wife? This is over with. I've embarrassed my family. I pull up in Sheriff Lawson's driveway, and I'm thinking, oh, my goodness gracious. He comes out smiling, and he hops in the car seat. He says, I need a ride to work. I said, oh, is that all? That's all you need to ride to work? He said, yeah, I just need a ride to work. I thought he was going to fire me, you know.
Talk about the old jail just for a second before we go back to the Sheriff Boring, because we're going to take our morning break here, is that we had the best bologna sandwiches there in the world.
Oh, absolutely. Government bologna, probably.
That government bologna and
government cheese.
And them red hot dogs on Sunday. They boiled a big pot of them. Do you remember?
The water turned pink.
The water turned pink,
Yeah.
and you get a piece of light bread and eat you a hot dog.
Are you talking about the old jail on 2nd Street
Yeah.
where we were?
Yes, sir.
Well, you're talking about doing levers and
Yes,
opening
yeah.
up everything. We didn't even have a jailer when
That's
I
right.
was chief deputy. We had to book our own arrest,
Yes.
take them and put them actually in the cell and everything. You took your time off the road because all this paperwork you had to do, and you had to do it.
And nobody watched the inmates, did they?
No.
They just put them
No.
up there. I mean, if one got sick, I don't know what they did. I arrested 2 boys off the interstate for marijuana way back there. Had a whole trunk load of fresh cut marijuana. We took them to jail. I didn't think any more about it. Those boys couldn't make bond. They couldn't get to a phone. About 3 months later, we're going to court in front of Judge Brown. And I go to get them, and they're still there from 3 months ago. I said, boys, y'all ain't make bonds. Ain't nobody talked to us about making a bond. I said, golly, damn. I'm so sorry. They hadn't contacted family. They're just there, And they were pale, hadn't had any sunlight. They hadn't got outside.
Well,
Unbelievable.
There was no day.
You felt bad.
I felt pretty bad for
There
them.
was no day room or exercise
No,
room, none.
no.
And on Friday and Saturday night, there used to be contests see how many drunks you could get there.
That's exactly right. They left one in the hole one time forever.
Yeah,
I mean, like weeks, and we finally got him out, and he shouldn't have been there. I remember old Andy Shelfer. He's probably listening this morning.
I was involved with one
Yeah.
guy we left in there over the weekend.
Oh, maybe that was it.
And he never wanted. He was real polite after
Yeah.
he got out of there. He was mean when we got there.
But Andy Shelfer says, "Can't you take a joke, buddy?"
Andy, I can't tell you all the Andy Shelfer stories because I was there too. Go ahead, caller. You live on Old Town Cleveland.
I was calling in to that show.
Go ahead.
Old Town.
You're live on the air. Who are we talking to?
Oh, this is William Nolan again.
Hi, William. What's up, buddy? Can you turn him up just a little bit, Ron? Okay. Talk a little louder. Go ahead.
Okay. You were talking about that other sheriff that was shot in Polk County.
Yes.
His name was Lewis Wright,
Lewis Wright.
and he was shot out at Turtletown in a bar. They was when they pulled up, they shot him and was going to shoot his deputy, and he jumped under a car. And his name was Carmel Gibson, and there was another guy with him, and I can't remember his name, but he was a company guard at the old Tennessee Copper Company, and they killed him. But that was the other sheriff that was killed in Polk County.
No,
I think that's the picture that I saw was those people.
He was ambushed. That was a setup, wasn't it?
I think it was a setup. The people that run the bar called him out there. I was still in grammar school. I can't even remember what year it was, but they called him out there. When he got out there, at the side of the building, the light was out, and when he got out of the car, somebody shot him. As quick as he got out, and this company guard was in the front seat. The deputy was in the back seat. They thought they were shooting him, and they shot this company guard that was with him.
Okay. Whew, those were some rough times, wasn't it? You had to learn to duck. Live in Ducktown.
Can I ask a question? Was this man a deputy or was he the sheriff?
He was sheriff of Polk County.
Yes.
Lewis Wright.
Was he killed?
Yes.
Okay, see, that's interesting.
And then the deputy was not killed, and the guard that happened to be with him from Tennessee Copper was killed.
Mm-hmm.
They thought they were killing the deputy.
Was this over union stuff, or do you know?
I can't hear you.
Was that over unions?
You know, I really don't know. Like I say, I was still in grammar school. But
Okay.
But I'd heard the story, and then when I got in high school, that's when I found out, because the Carmel Gibson's daughter was in high school when I was, and she talked about it a lot, about her dad not being killed. But that the sheriff was, I think they were always down in Benton, but he would come up in that area and do a lot of work up in Copper Hill.
Wow. That is so interesting. We appreciate you being a listener, and we appreciate you calling in today.
Well, anything around Copper Hill. I don't live there now, but I grew up there, and I've heard that story ever since I was in grammar school. Okay.
Thank you very much, William. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I love our callers.
Deb, it's time for us to take our morning break.
It
We'll be
is.
back here in about 3 or 4 minutes. We always play a song called Gone Home, and that's for all the people who've passed away in our community, your families, your friends, our friends.
One of my favorites.
And we'll be back here in just a few minutes.
You still do some
Bad.
singing?
You are
still
listening to
sing?
WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash. The cash you need is closer than you think.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500 at Check Into Cash.
You drive home with the cash in your pocket.
Visit Check Into Cash for an auto title loan today, or get a payday advance for up to $425. Call toll-free 877-262-CASH. Title loan amount determined by value of car and ability to repay. Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, dig it. Dig it, dig it.
Ever hear of Speedy Bonding? Oh, my brothers and sisters, when you're down and in trouble and you need a helping hand while you're in jail, Speedy Bond is the way to go. And they don't call them Speedy for nothing. And quicker than quick, they was right there to help you out. They got Speedy's got 25 years bonding people out of jail. Give them a call, Speedy's Bonding, and they'll make you feel like you're in another world. And the number is, Speedy's Bonding is 479-9905. The number is 479-9905.
I'm Sissy Finkelstaller, and I had a very rare condition known as an amniotic fluid embolism that comes with an 80% fatality rate. I am only alive today because 20 complete strangers decided to donate blood and become my life's heroes. This week, April 27th through May 2nd, I want to encourage you to become a local hero by making a blood donation at Blood Assurance's first ever Hero Week. For your donation, you will receive a free movie ticket, but most importantly, you will be saving 3 lives. For more information, visit bloodassurance.org or call 1-800-962-0628.
The songbirds are singing, the dell seem to say, gone home. They have gone home. Gone they home. Have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Life here is lonely since they've gone before. Gone. They have gone home. Gone. They have gone home. The old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sighs. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. They have gone home. Gone home. They have gone home. Where'd the old town go? They moved it on.
We're live on there.
I got two songs playing at one time there, so
Cut it out.
we just cut that. You're back on Old Town Cleveland here on Whoop FM 99.9, or you can go to the internet at www.whoopfm.com. You can call us here at 614-5553. We're talking to Chip Bryant and Elvis Brandon, talking about the murder of Sheriff Israel Smith, the only sheriff ever murdered here, and also just some good old stories about the Bradley County Sheriff's Department over the years.
Got a call.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, this is Marilyn.
Hey, Marilyn, what's going on, sister?
Well, we're at the Southeastern Farmers Co-op waiting on the fish truck.
Is it raining?
No, ma'am, it's not.
Okay, well, good. It's
Good.
just y'all can always attract the worst weather for such an activity. So, you think the fish truck will be there somewhere around 11 o'clock?
Yeah, he's probably caught in the traffic somewhere or something, but he should be here shortly. And we have folks here that have orders, but anything they have left once they fill those orders, you would be able to buy.
Okay.
So if you need fish for your pond or
yeah,
your bathtub, you can put them in your bathtub if you want to.
They might not get as big in the bathtub
That
as
might
they would
be.
in the pond. You were talking about the old jail.
Yep, you've been there, done that. Okay.
I've been there. That was a
What were you in for?
I'll never tell.
Yep.
She'd always tell people, well, we got to leave. I got to take her back to the
Jail. Yep.
I remember Ruthie Poteet being there dispatching, and she called Andy Lockhart and said, Andy, I can hear them sawing the bars into. He said, well, just stay where you're at, and I'll be there time they get them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember listening to.
Standing at the foot of the wall when they come skimming down the.
I remember listening to the radio, the police radio, and Ron would be on call, and Ann would be up there by herself, and she's calling Ron because there was something going on upstairs. So there was no one watching them.
No, yeah, the dispatcher would be the only person in the building.
And you hope you knew where the keys were. We only had one set for the whole jail.
And some trustee had them 99% of the time.
Yeah, that's And now there's not hardly any keys to jail.
No, not
No, not too many keys at all. You were talking about asking Elvis about pictures. Well, you know they'd have to be old pictures.
Yeah.
He made the history section of the newspaper the other Sunday.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
we all make it.
We
every
were
now and then.
wondering if if they had cameras back in.
They chiseled them out in a
Chiseled
rock.
in stone. That's right.
I think one thing I will never forget is the smell of that old 2nd Street jail. You could stand across the street, over on the sidewalk, and you could smell it.
That was that was from the kitchen.
No, it was not.
No. No,
Oh,
it
the food
wasn't.
was-
And
the
it
food was-
always amazed me that they were able to clean that building up enough for it to be used.
Well, parts
Yeah,
of it.
It made a nice looking office, but it sure was a grungy jail.
Mhm.
Well,
Wait.
I'm really enjoying this, guys.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
get out so somebody else
All
can
right,
talk.
thanks, Marilyn.
Bye-bye.
And she and T are set up down at the what I call the Bradley Farmers Co-op down on Blue Springs Road, and they're having a fish sale today. Anyone that needed to stock the pond.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
John, I have a quick question for Ellis, but before I do, I want to say hello to Chip Bright. We go back a long way.
Hey, friend.
My grandma Hinkle worked for you.
There you go. Yes, Granny Hinkle.
Granny
Worked for my dad, really, but yes.
Elvis brought up something a while ago, and as soon as I was asking, I'll hang on this to his answer. But is it true that when Buford would come to town here, Buford Pusser, Sheriff Lamar Lawson took him to the coffee cup?
I'm sorry. I
He wants to know, did when Buford Pusser came to town, did Lamar Lawson take him to the coffee cup?
that I don't know. That's probably because I wasn't in the sheriff's office then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
All right,
at
appreciate
Cleveland
it.
State.
Oh, okay. It's up. But hey, somebody important came to town. You took them to the coffee cup.
Hey, it's a good story. Yeah, it's a good story. Who wouldn't want to go to the coffee cup?
Thank you.
Exactly.
And while we have just a break, a little segue in that, the Museum Center here in Cleveland is going to be doing an exhibit about, they don't have the title of it, but basically it's about the good eateries that we used to have here in Cleveland. And
A
some
few
of
of 'em are still around.
The Spot and the Rebel are some that are
Still
still around
around.
from time.
Hanging on best they can.
And
yes.
but we need pictures and stories, and we need, if you have any items from any of these, the Grand Lunch, you know, the
I know someone had told us they had a table and chairs from Dooley's Ice Cream. We definitely need
Oh,
that.
yes.
and but anyway, we're looking for those pictures, menu items, and things of that nature.
A
Trays,
tray.
car trays.
Chip wants one of the trays from the Rebel that hooked onto the car, and he said this morning that people left with them as fast as his daddy could buy them.
Yes, and they were aluminum, and that my dad would take off like what you clean an oven with, and he would write Rebel on that shiny aluminum that would discolor it, and you know, and then so there's some trays out there somewhere that have Rebel on them, or maybe even using a magic marker.
We would
the
love
statute
to
of limitations
borrow
is out there.
one. Yes.
We would like to borrow your stolen item
Yes,
now.
please.
Hey, go ahead, caller. You're live.
Hey, good morning. It's RD.
Hey, RD. How you doing, sir?
Oh, sore from trying to get that garden planted yesterday.
Yeah, trying to beat that rain, right?
Yeah, I'm not. You realize you're not young anymore when all that bending
Yeah.
down. Hey, question for the law enforcement. Mr. Bryant, you know me. I used to come in the restaurant there, and the telephone man always used to pester you about that rotary dial phone had in there. But,
Yes, yes.
Hey, got a question for you. Also, a big firearms collector. You mentioned you had to buy your own handguns.
That's correct. Yes.
What was the make and model of the first firearms you bought?
Well, Smith and Wesson was most popular, right, Elvis?
Absolutely. Model 60, law
Yeah.
enforcement.
I carried a Model 19 pin barrel 357 6-inch, and I could shoot a fly off your ear with that thing. They put us with these 40 caliber Glocks, and I would be afraid to. I mean, really, I can't pinpoint it.
I don't like the Glock myself.
I can't shoot it like I could that
I hate
revolver.
there's no safety to it either.
Well,
just the pull and the trigger.
The
but,
little pull thing, yeah, that's
but
right.
Any crook could take it away from me and shoot me.
But I sold that Model 19. It was blue, and I wish I could find it. If I could find it, I'd pay $1,000 for it. but
Ron,
I
what did you
don't take it.
have?
I carried a Colt 357, my first weapon I carried. And then I got I carried a stainless steel 357 Smith & Wesson 6-inch.
Very good. Very
Elvis?
good. I got a couple.
Wait a minute, Elvis, what did you carry?
Started out with the Smith & Wesson police model, and wound up with, as chief of police, the Smith & Wesson, what do you call it, detective special.
The detective special. Okay.
That, I carried it in the car under the seat. And when I was chief of police, Mary Nell, what's her name, that was secretary down there, she jumped all over me. Why don't you got your gun? Somebody come in here and shoot you. I said, if I'm sitting here behind my desk, somebody comes in and wants to shoot me. Before I ever get a gun out, I'm dead.
There you go.
Well, of course, we knew Lamar Lawson very seldom ever carried his gun. He would have to go out to his trunk and try to find his if he needed it.
He'd use those big old fists.
Oh, yeah.
RD, what did you say?
I was going to say, did you have the old Sam Brown belt, the basket weave with the swivel holster and stuff for it, or just
what'd you have,
regular
Chip?
hip
Yes,
holster?
I did. I actually wore the belt across my shoulder because
Really?
that gun was so heavy I couldn't hold my pants up.
Yeah.
And I asked Captain Jerry Nye if I could wear that thing, and it had a quick disconnect. Someone grabbed hold of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Robbie Epperson wore one, Jerry Nye wore one occasionally. But I've not been around that long, not like Elvis. We're starting in the 80s with me, and Elvis was there in the 70s. And, of course, we don't have too many deputies that were there in the 60s, do we? I don't guess
We had I wore a basket weave, we wore black leather, and your holster, well, you had to buy your own leather, so whatever holster you liked, and you could wear a cross draw from the left, or you could wear about anything you wanted to.
Yeah.
As long as it was
good.
black.
That's good. I've got an old, all complete original Sam Brown outfit here with the belt and the shell carriers, the swivel holster, and everything. But I collect stuff like that. But
I've got my 79 belt still.
Very good. I think
They
Barney
don't fit.
Fife. I think Barney Fife wore this one because it don't fit around my waist. I can tell you that. So.
But mine might fit now. It didn't there for a while, but then we went to those flat pancake. Remember the pancake holsters? That's what we went to.
You know, troopers wore patent leather back then.
Yeah.
And then they went to basket. Are they back at patent leathers now? I think they're back in patent leathers.
I haven't. Fortunately, haven't got to see one lately.
Yeah, fortunately, you not had a ticket yet.
Yeah.
No, they haven't pulled me over in a long time.
Well, that's good stuff. Well, listen, enjoying the show. Y'all take care now, all right?
Thank you. Bye bye, RD. We had shotguns at the sheriff's department. I don't know if we ever cleaned them or anything, or or did they? I never had to fire one, so I don't know if they ever actually worked or
Ron,
not.
I'm going to mention real fast that next week is when we're going to have Mountain Cove come on and play live music. So that will be a very enjoyable show. We hope everybody plans to tune in next week on May the 2nd.
No history next week except when we talk about old bluegrass music. They do gospel and bluegrass. And
Young boys.
And they're going to be on a national TV show pretty soon. So they're coming on here for the, they want to do something big before they got on the national TV.
Mm-hmm.
We had them on.
They want to come back and reminisce with us because actually we were one of the first people that ever gave them the opportunity to be on the air live. And so they were asked if they could come back. Online, Stephanie found a memorial to Frank Clayton on Find a Grave. And it tells the newspaper story about his death. Now, the newspaper story may be a little different from what actually happened, but we know how that goes.
From the Polk County side.
But we will.
But they passed the dogs.
We appreciate that, and I'm going to check that out.
Now, something I've read about this, and of course, I would have never known anything about it probably until Chip, did you and the sheriff, Gilly, done all this research. And so thank you for doing that. You saved a lot of history there. I would not know anything. Let's get this phone call here. If I push the right button. Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Good morning, Ron.
Hey, how you doing,
Brenda?
I'm doing pretty good. I have really enjoyed this show today. I tell you, this is right up my alley. And I had my grandfather, who I didn't know, he had left town before I was ever born. And I believe he was on the city police department. But
was he an Allen?
He was an Allen, yes.
They mentioned an Allen in one of these articles somewhere, but I'm sorry, I've read so much I can't tell you what. I mean, they may have just mentioned him.
Well, he was the officer that would go and get the kids that skipped school and stuff. Okay. And from what I understand, he was a pretty rough character his own self. And they said the kids were just scared to death of him, and his nickname was Booger. But his real name was Homer Allen. And he had two children, my father's brother was named after him, and then there was my father, and he was the younger one, and he stepped out on my grandmother, and she went one day and knocked on the door of the woman that he was seeing, and that was something else. But anyway,
that's a different story.
An officer of the law and with the Cleveland Police Department would do. Wait a minute, shut up. Go ahead.
Lord have mercy. I'd hate to even tell you how many.
Let's get back up. Let's get back to the old stuff.
We digress.
But anyway, she when she saw for her own eyes finally why she left him, but he left my grandmother for the one let's see, what should I call her?
Floozy.
She was more than a floozy. Anyway, she was the big one of the Cleveland area.
Okay.
And he left town with her, and my father, when my father was 7 years old, and then he was raised by a stepfather, and he was very fortunate to have the stepfather that he did, and then my stepfather, grandfather, took real good care of the family, and they had plenty to eat and everything from there on out, and everything turned out fine. But anyway, I have enjoyed this today so much. I feel like I just feel better because it's something I have got a kick out of, and I always wanted to be on the police department and never was.
Never too late.
Oh, boy, is it too late.
I told somebody I couldn't do that anymore because I couldn't get my seatbelt off fast enough to even get out of the car anymore. I can't find the latch.
Well, I've got my my daddy's old gun, and I took the course at the sheriff's department, and my words don't come out. But anyway, I took the course at the sheriff's department, and of course I already knew how to shoot a gun. I had shot many times through my life, but this is a Colt 38 Metropolitan Mark III. Wow. And it looks like a brand new gun, and it's old.
Yeah. You want to sell that gun?
How much are we talking about?
$25 sights unseen.
No.
You wish.
Yeah.
One of the deputies, when I took the course, and that's been many years ago, wanted to buy the gun from me, and I said no, I don't want to sell it because it first belonged to my daddy's brother, and when he died, he left it to my daddy, and then when my daddy died, he left it to me. So I didn't want to sell it, but I've really enjoyed this program, and I wanted to say hello to Chip. And Chip, this is Brenda Degler, and my
hello,
Central
Brenda.
Heat and Air is working wonderful.
Oh, okay, Brenda. Yes, I know your voice, and I'm listening. Next time I'm out there, show me that gun, okay?
I sure will.
Yes, please do. And say hello to your sweet mother for me.
And keep your hands on it real tight.
Yeah, watch, Chip.
Thanks, Brenda.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brenda.
Bye-bye. Something, Chip, about the Israel Smith murder. I know that they captured them in Polk County, but I understand they escaped here and then went and were caught in Hamilton County. I found that.
Have you read that, Chip?
No, I haven't.
But what happened at the trial? I have never found anything.
I can't find anything. And you were more successful in finding out about their death.
Mm-hmm. We found a death certificate last night that indicates that Luther, which was the
Jasper
Luther, we found his death certificate that said he died in the state prison in Nashville, died of typhoid fever. And
pretty soon after his incarceration, right? Mm-hmm. He had not been there long, until he passed away.
And we know that Jasper died much later, like in the 40s.
40s, yeah.
40s, and he's buried out here at Prospect. I
Did
have
he die
not.
in custody? Did he die in custody?
We
No.
don't know.
Nor do I exactly.
Well, we don't know if they were convicted. Their argument was
Well, obviously, this one was convicted of something.
well, he died in prison. So, but their argument was it was self-defense because that the sheriffs come in there and just started shooting.
Yes, but that's not indicated by the evidence.
Right.
Because Sheriff Smith had one empty shell, and according to your information, he was known to carry it on an empty bullet.
Right.
In those days, Elvis, remember, if you happened to drop your gun and the gun landed on the hammer, it would go off. It would go off. I mean,
A Colt would.
A Colt would, okay. And so
And some people, and then later on, I had officers, I seen them that would, the first bullet in the cylinder, they left it blank because somebody took their gun away from them. They couldn't shoot them.
Yeah,
I said, but you couldn't shoot them either, so you
Yeah.
had to click twice. So
You-
that
right.
was a little strange thing. But
Well, that's something that you just do. But in the newspaper reports, it said that the jury had gone for deliberation, but the testimony from the other law enforcement people said that no one there from law enforcement ever fired a shot, and that the Sheriff Carter always kept that one cylinder empty in his gun.
you mean Sheriff Smith, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I went way back to Sheriff Carter. And let's see, what else was it that was said? But those were the just two main testimonies. But the Borings never backed down
And
from.
they
They felt like that they were defending themselves.
confusing things too, that they were running from the still and they got into they went to Worth's Boring's house, and they shot out the window through the windows, but it sounded like they were chasing them when they were shooting back. So there's a lot of things. They did arrest Worth as a suspect.
They did, yes.
And,
And they interviewed him.
right.
A sheriff from Polk County did, and that's where they learned where they might have escaped to. And found
So
him
was Sheriff Smith shot at the steel, close to the steel?
close to the still, according to what Sheriff Sam Cannon told me. And, of course, that information been passed down to him, mostly from possibly Pastor Smith from Big Spring Methodist Church, who was a grandson of Sheriff Smith. A couple of things that's interesting to me is
the legend always has been that they were up in the upstairs in the windows and had
Right.
shot out.
Well, of course, they couldn't be chasing them because the still wasn't that close to the house, I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think you wouldn't put the still
No,
right
you
behind the
wouldn't.
house.
No.
So, but it gets vague there.
And I'm sure that someone that was really dedicated to the cause could go find the court records, or go back and find all the newspapers in the correct sequence and try to put the story together.
And the one that died, they have him born 1899, 1900, and 1903 in different stories. So he was 20, 23, 24 years old when he died in prison.
And see, that's not, I know you think that's kind of crazy, but if you were born into a family that does not read and write, it would be really easy for that information to get lost. And according to the 1900 census, he was born in February of 1899. But in court, he testified he really didn't know how old he was.
Well,
and on his death certificate, it said he was born about 1903. So they didn't know either. We think that's so weird
but he
today.
He died of typhoid fever roughly 1 year after the murder, and then the other one lived to be. He died in the 40s, and he was about 50 when he died.
Luther died November of 1923. So he probably had not been in jail very long.
Did you happen to pick up on the fact that they probably didn't book the Borings at the Bradley County Jail? There was 200 people waiting for the Borings to get back, and there could have very well been a lynching.
There's some kind of escape or something, and they were ended up in Hamilton County.
Yeah,
They may have just taken him to Hamilton
They took
County.
them straight to Hamilton County because they stopped and made a phone call back in the town and learned of this. I'm not saying it's a lynch mob, but there was a lot of people back here grieving about Sheriff Smith's murder. I mean, he was a well-loved man.
Go ahead, caller.
Ron,
Yeah.
Bob Gill.
Hey, Bob Gill. How are you, sir?
Bob, what's going on, buddy?
I was listening to the program, enjoyed it, being a former law enforcement person. Jack Carson down at McDonald's.
Yes.
And his sister that's still alive, Jack's passed away, but
they were some kin to the Sheriff Smith. I don't know what kin they were.
You're talking about
I've
Elizabeth.
Huh?
Elizabeth Carson.
Elizabeth, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, Sheriff Smith must have been a Democrat.
Well, he was a good man, wasn't he, Elvis?
But they were kin to Sheriff Smith some way, and I've heard Jack over the years speak of.
Well, now
kin to the sheriff.
I think maybe Israel Smith's mom may have been a Carson.
Well, she may have been. That may have been the way that he was kin to the sheriff, but Jack was. He was after he got where he couldn't get around too well. He'd come around and to the auctions that I'd go to, and I've heard him speak of that, and I didn't know if y'all knew that or not. But
I did not. I'll have to ask Miss Elizabeth the next time I see her down at the breakfast at the McDonald Rooting Club.
Well, where were you last time I was there? I didn't see you.
Well, we're kind of forgetful in our old age, and we'll sit down and we'll go, well, we should have gone to the McDonald breakfast this morning.
I think that's next Saturday, right?
It's the first Saturday of every month. Me and Pete App was there.
Oh, my.
Well,
Boy, that was some lies told.
Maybe that's the reason we weren't there. I don't know.
Well, I ain't been, Ron.
Hey, we come through that way the other day, and I seen the sign. I said, we got to go May 2nd, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I just want
Thanks,
to
Bob. Thanks for passing that along.
I'll see you in all that stuff that you've got for me. I'll get it.
All right, sounds good.
According to the newspaper article here, we're right. Sheriff Bell from Polk County was asked where were the prisoners taken, and he would give no answer. So they must have arranged to take them down to Hamilton County to avoid the mob that was back here at the county jail, which I guess would have been on 2nd Street where we started serving Elvis.
Right.
Is that right? What year was that jail built, Debbie?
That's 47.
Okay, well,
it may have been
No,
in
it was earlier in 47.
that building where the old
2nd Street jail.
That's 47 jail, 45, 47.
Okay.
Well, so then the jail was in the basement of the courthouse. The old courthouse was the first. There was the second jail in Bradley County. Right quick, I want to say hello to my two granddaughters listening, Ellie and Emily. Hello, Ellie and Emily.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hey, go ahead, caller. You're live.
Ron, this is Bob Cash.
Oh,
Bob Cash.
Boy, I am thoroughly enjoying this today, and I was wondering, my great uncle Lynch Longley was on the city police force. I think it was in the 70s. I wonder if anyone remember him.
Lynch Longley. I don't remember the name.
Someone like Eddie Scoggins probably would.
Eddie Cartwright.
Eddie Cartwright might.
Eddie Cartwright
yes.
would be a good one to ask.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Well, listen, Ron, what about Red? You think she's out making a garden for us today?
I hope she's got her waders on if she is.
No, her corn's wet.
Oh, okay.
Processed corn.
Well, I see what you're saying. Well, listen, I'll let you go. And
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome, honey.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to
Bye-bye.
listen to the rest of the show, and I'll talk to you
Thank you.
later.
Bye-bye. Now, you know Bob always calls in and we start talking about moonshine, and he won't know where the still was.
Yeah. I'd love to find the still that's photographed here.
Oh, yes.
Who
was
knows?
at the jail. Was that at the jail or the courthouse? It
Well,
looks like the courthouse, isn't it?
It's probably the courthouse.
See the arch there?
The arch was the courthouse.
Yes.
See, I think that was part of the old courthouse.
Yes. The arch matched the arch in the tunnel at Missionary Tunnel.
I will take a
Ridge.
picture of this picture and post it after a while on Facebook on your site. The steel's probably long gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they during World War II, people scrapped everything to make tanks and airplanes with. I think the most interesting part of this article is when they cook breakfast with this entourage of murderers and police officers.
Can you imagine the discussions going on at the
Can
table?
you imagine? And they unhandcuffed the Bourne brothers, allowed them to wash, and they sit at the table and they had breakfast. Someone might have very well said grace. Can you imagine how sticky the air was about that time? And then it says the lady of the house would not take any money for the food. So evidently
She was a good woman.
she was. The Polk County officials offered to pay probably. And I just wonder what the conversation was around the table then.
Mhm.
And I wonder if their rights were read to them and those sorts of things. Well, back then,
I would,
Miranda didn't apply then.
It did not apply.
Miranda.
Everything you said could be held against
That's
you,
right.
even around
Was
the breakfast
that,
table.
Nevada versus Miranda, I think. But, yeah.
I just think that would just be terribly interesting to see. I mean, I think that's one of the most interesting parts of the story.
I think so, too. I mean, they had been out all night long, and back then they probably didn't take any food with them. Who knows? I doubt that they did. They were probably very hungry.
There's some really good stuff in these old articles where the sheriff comes back. I believe it was Sheriff Bell comes back, and all of a sudden he realizes that 3 of his deputies are still missing. And, there's no radios. There's no nothing. You don't know if they've gotten up in the mountains and got killed. This was down in Bradley County, I believe. Finally, it had started raining, and they come walking out of the woods, said they got rained out, that they were watching one of the buildings that long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the whole story is interesting. That and it's an unfortunate part of our history, but it's an important part of our history. The first law enforcement officer ever killed in Bradley County, and the first sheriff, and the only sheriff ever killed.
That's right.
In Bradley County, and we hope that trend stays constant there, and
Yes.
no more officers. And it's been a very limited number of officers that has passed.
I think
in Bradley.
8. I used to have the
Is
list.
it 8?
6, 8, something like that. And I remember.
Who do you remember off that list?
Well, Deputy Al McCollum, my good friend and my boss Mike Bogus is listening this morning. He manages the maintenance division there at the jail, and I do some work in maintenance. And we had just spoke recently about Al McCollum, who was a dear friend of ours, who was a reserve officer, a sworn deputy sheriff, involved in a rescue attempt.
Went down in a
well. Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Mike would come, and Richard Taylor. Those two guys would be great to get here and talk about
there
that.
was one, the old Calfee's, wasn't an officer shot there in the parking lot? This is Sam Cannon.
Well,
era.
we have Deputy Wright, who was killed one morning. Yes,
yeah.
back in mine. You and I were teenagers probably when that happened.
Now, where was he killed?
He was killed on Buchanan Road, just off Dalton Pike, by a name that escapes me now. But Eddie Scoggins knows about that. Tommy McLean was present that morning. And those are some recent memories that are very touchy for a lot of folks, I'm sure, because a lot of our people remember Deputy Wright.
Oh, I do.
Yes, it's a very unfortunate thing.
Yeah, but there was a robbery going on at where Calfee's was or something, and an officer got shot. And you remember Elvis?
We've had a lot shot, but none killed.
I think he was killed too, though.
Barry Tharp, one of my dear friends, he was shot, and we had Bill Coultry recently. We remember he was shot in a very serious incident. And a lot of injuries, wrecks, bad car crashes, and that kind of thing.
Jim Ruth was shot.
Jim Ruth
still has a bullet in his arm.
Sheriff Ruth has the bullet in his arm.
Matter of fact, that was on a video, John Cook's video cam. John was in the pursuit with him. He was chief deputy, and you seen. It was Jim's car. The guy started shooting at him, and Sheriff Ruth, who was Deputy Ruth at that time, fired, and you see him hit the guy, and it put a crease in his forehead. It was looked like somebody laid a pencil on this guy. The guy was very fortunate; it wasn't over an inch, or it would have killed him. And this guy spun around about 3 times and shooting a gun in there, and then you heard Jim say, "I'm shot."
Yes,
and it was unbelievable. The dash cams are great. Elvis, I know when you were chief deputy, you talked about the Militia Gibson incident, which was a very, very sad incident, made national news and brought a lot of attention. And Chip said something is that I know, and I won't tell all the story here, but I know that night you had to move Mr. Maddox away from Bradley County, did you not?
Yes, I did, and that was one of the most impressionable instance in my life, I guess, dealing with that murder and everything surrounding it. You're supposed to be, as a law enforcement officer, professional. You're not supposed to let any emotion get a hold of you. But let me tell you, it's hard to do sometimes when you're in a situation like that. And I'll always remember that, and everything, the funeral. You know, Jim Rush called the sheriff and I and asked us to come over to the funeral home and show us something. He opened up the bottom part of the casket to show me her feet. He said we couldn't get the bruise out, which is unusual. That's always stuck with me very vividly in my mind.
I know Robert Lawson was the city detective who interviewed Mr. Maddox, and I remember Robert's telling me that he had to take his hands and put them underneath his legs and sit on them because his desire and unfortunately in our society today we see a lot of this unfortunate things happening in law enforcement, and I think Chip will tell you is that I understand when an officer might lose his cool. It's always, we hoped if I was working with Chip and he lost his cool, that he would help me stop or I would help him stop, because the law enforcement people are human, and if you've been hit upside the head and beat on, you want to retaliate. It's just natural, and you hope your fellow officers will stop that. So, one officer doing something, I understand that happening. 8 or 10 doing it just freaks me out, I guess.
I know this post-chase syndrome.
Yeah.
And we sit on TV all the time with these officers, most time municipal officers, but not always. No, not locally. We're talking about in larger cities, and they finally catch the guy, and the poor guy doesn't stand a chance. There needs to be someone there say, whoa,
well, you hope the sergeant,
exactly,
or the lieutenant shows up and do that, or just a smart officer. And I know Chip probably pulled me off somebody before. I don't know. You get mad and you get in the middle of the fight, and of course our rule was always once you got them cuffed, you didn't need to beat them anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean they're cuffed. They're not going anywhere. If they stand up, we can knock them down real easy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little story about an officer that kept his cool, which I don't know whether I could have or not. You remember an officer named Don Carson?
Mm-hmm.
Don Carson.
And
Big Don Carson.
Yeah, that was his wrestling name. He was really a Gaston.
Yep.
But anyway, we had an incident of a youth drinking and displayed himself in front of a restaurant down on the south side, and we got the call. We boxed him in down here and got him out of the car, and Don was the car on this side and mine on this side, and Don got him, started taking him to the car to arrest him, put the cuffs. The guy turned around and spit in Don's face. I mean, just flat, right in the face.
Yeah.
Don just very coolly reached in his pocket, brought out a handkerchief, wiped his face off, took the guy gently, set him in the car, pushed his head down, and shut the door. And I thought, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have done that or not. If somebody spit in my face, my first instinct would be pow.
Yeah.
But Don just carried himself.
Ron and I witnessed something the other day. We were down close to Hamilton Place Mall, and there was a herd of policemen,
9 or 10,
getting ready to arrest a young man. And this young man was belligerent. You could just tell by the way he was acting that he was way out of control, and they were really restraining themselves. And there was someone standing there videoing. Nope, she wasn't videoing. She was standing there waiting for something to happen to video it. And I thought, I wish she was videoing now to catch the restraint before what's going to happen.
That's not exciting to people, though. It's,
but we got it.
99.9% of all interactions with law enforcement does not result in any type of physical confrontation.
Right.
There's guys who want to resist arrest a little bit. And usually, if you're trained right, you control them very quickly, and you don't have to hurt them. So they never put that in the news. So our defense of law enforcement, but those guys who just shoot people for no reason, though, I can't defend those.
And, exactly.
Good morning, you're live on Old Town Cleveland.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Guys. This is Tanya Brantley.
Hey, Tanya. A little bit louder, please.
Well, I have a question. I hate to break the flow of the
That's okay.
Here. You guys over there in the village, they used to have the bowling alley down below. Is that still? Do they use that as a storm shelter by chance?
No, I don't think
it's
that
not
they
a
do.
fallout shelter as we knew it as I knew it growing up, at least. But it's actually part of the Rush now, or Gold's Gym.
Some of
Oh,
it's
okay.
Gold's Gym, and some of it is storage. Were you looking for somewhere to come in the event of a storm?
Yeah, they're calling for some pretty bad stuff today, so I thought, I live kind of close to the village, so. But
Well, some of the fire departments have storm shelters.
okay.
They do. I don't know some of the more recent ones they've built. It's interesting. A lot of folks go up to Bradley. Well, it's now Sky Ridge Hospital's parking garage. I mean, you can't get in there when it's storming.
Yeah.
But as far as designated storm shelters, I'm coming up short right now.
We now at one time, of course, Tanya, when we were growing up, we had fallout shelters
Yes.
because of we were always worried about the bomb. So the village was a fallout shelter.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
she's looking for someplace now.
Yeah, Elvis.
Back
Well,
when
when
we had
when my father, when my daddy calls me first thing in the morning, telling me that I need to be prepared for this afternoon's storms.
Yes, I understand. Go ahead, Elvis.
back when we were in the office, we had the big tornado. You remember
Yes.
coming through? And,
74.
Anyway, a lot of people, like North Cleveland Baptist Church, had a basement in different churches, and that's where people went because just get out of the
But I see,
tornado.
I appreciate the fact that you're looking for something before you need it. But, like Chip says, the big parking garage, I think that if the courthouse was open, the basement there would be safe.
The village shopping center itself is pretty bomb proof here. It's a very unique design. The only
But
problem
there's not
is
any place open.
it's a tunnel out here, and if the tornado come, it probably wouldn't hit you, but it might suck you down the hallway.
So if anyone's listening and you know of a place, please call us and let us know, because that's good information for a lot of folks to have.
Yeah, it's real good to be prepared when you do not have a basement
I understand.
or a storm shelter, and I live close to downtown, so I thought, well, maybe he has a point there. Let me call
In
and
the
ask him while
past,
they're on the air.
in the past, that would have been a really good choice. But I think now you would not be able to get in there easily. As in the past, you could just come in and go downstairs and no problem.
Well,
Good
Okay,
question.
so maybe somebody will call Tanya. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. So Israel Smith died March 14, 1922. We don't know a lot about the trial, though.
We don't. No, we don't.
We just know the defense was that someone had fired at them. They didn't know who it was, and they just started shooting back. And they said they shot from the second story of their house, but there got to be some holes there because the steel was back up the road someplace, apparently.
Yes. It would be nice if General Bryant had written down all that happened back then.
Mhm.
It'd really be nice. I like to know where he's buried and some information about him.
General Grant Bryant.
Yes, he may have told those stories to some family members, and that information's out there if we could just dig and find it.
Well, they're probably both sides of the story. They're probably some of the Boring family. I'm sure some of their relatives here, maybe they have that side of the story, and maybe we could find somebody from the Smith family that would share what the trial was. If we could figure out where the trial was, maybe there's a record somewhere.
It's probably in Hamilton County, probably.
Good morning. You're live on Old Town Cleveland.
This is Betty Lillard again.
Hey, Betty,
Betty.
go ahead, dear.
And General Grant Bryant is buried at Tasso Methodist Church Cemetery.
Wow, that's good.
That's good. That's the old church there. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Natural
behind the church.
Methodist Church. Okay.
Yes, that's where he's buried.
And what decade did he die?
Oh, pardon?
What decade do you think he died? What year did he die?
I believe he died in 1962.
Okay.
Wow, I was 62. I was 6 years old. Man, isn't that so interesting?
In the early January, I believe.
Miss Lillard, do you know if he has any a family Bible, any writings, any newspaper clippings? Would he have been the type person to have passed his information down?
I doubt it, because he died in the Lions View at Knoxville.
Okay, he was in a home there.
Well, it's a place for when they lose their mind.
Bless his heart. He must have had maybe Alzheimer's back then. Or something.
They didn't call it that, but I imagine he did.
Yeah.
And when he was a jailer, my grandmother, his wife, was a cook at the jail. And
Good.
they lived there.
Oh, really? What about that? Yes.
And
At the city jail? Or is it the county?
Well, old jail uptown.
Okay.
Old jail uptown.
You know, the last sheriff to have lived at the Old County Jail, Elvis, was Sheriff Heisinger.
No.
Oh,
Gibson.
okay.
Jarvis Gibson.
He lived there?
He lived there.
Well, I'm so wrong then. What about that?
Well, I've been told that Grandpa and his wife, Nancy, his wife's name is Nancy, they're both buried at Tasso.
Okay.
I know
Thank
about Jarvis because I was
Thank you, ma'am.
summoned
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
for jury duty.
Yeah.
And I became chairman of the jail committee that year.
Yes.
And we went to visit the jail, and he and his wife were there. They lived there. See, Wendell Davis had left, and Jarvis had been his chief deputy, and so he served out the rest of Wendell Davis's term as sheriff. And they lived there. She cooked for the jail in the kitchen and everything. And
Well, now,
I
but-
remember that very plainly.
But did Sheriff Davis live at the jail?
No.
Okay.
What about Bill Gibson? Did he live there?
Who?
Bill Gibson? Was he?
No, I don't think so.
But there was several years that the sheriff did not live at the jail.
Right.
But by law they could if they wanted to.
Could have if they wanted
And
to.
so Jarvis said, "Oh, I'm going to live at the jail." That's interesting. I didn't know that because, and I don't think Miss Heisinger knows that. Our friend Debbie down on Varnell Road. You know the house where Sheriff Heisinger lived.
It's
he,
still there.
He built that home.
And his barn was burned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't know.
Political.
A political burning.
A political burning of some kind.
In
She told
Bradley
me-
County?
And
You
they
gotta
have
be
his
kidding.
badge. They have his badge
Oh, they have Sheriff Heisinger's badge.
hanging in that house.
We
Not
have
the old house, but
Probably the best picture of a former sheriff we have is that picture of Sheriff Heisinger at the Old County Jail. His handcuffs are laying on the desk, and also his weapon is laying there. And it's a wonderful picture. He has posed for the picture. And, of course, we have some good pictures of Sheriff Lawson, Lamar Lawson, and Chief Dan Gilly, or Deputy Dan Gilly, on a moonshine raid. Again, back then that was the most heinous of all crimes.
I got a picture of you and I at a marijuana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were out in a big field, and we'd found a whole.
trying out the medical
They-
marijuana.
Was I arresting you or what?
No.
Okay.
We were together.
Okay. We were together.
On this case, we were together.
Really?
Yeah.
I have pictures of you and my dad, in the old courtroom at Johnson Boulevard.
Yeah.
And
Oh, Ron
all
would like
those
to have
field
that.
deputies. Do you want those pictures?
Sure,
We would love
I've
to
been
have
moving them
copies.
around for years. My goodness,
Love
I'll
it.
bring them to you. Yeah. Yeah, be more than happy to.
Well, every now and then we'll dig out some picture, and I'll think, who is this kid in this picture? And Ron said, well, he was at the sheriff's department. He's already retired.
Yeah. Oh, someone posted. I think Mike Box posted a picture of a younger Jim Brown.
Yes.
I
yes.
seen Jim Brown the last fall. Was it? I was standing at the Vicksburg battlefield in Mississippi, and Jim Brown walked up to me.
Started talking to him.
I'm going. Dude,
I saw
are
Ron
you
carrying on
lost?
this conversation with. I thought, what stranger is Ron talking to? Well, he wasn't a stranger at all.
Jim Brown's a very interesting person. He's a good friend
He
of mine.
was. He was very interesting.
He's
that
a
day.
good fella. He really is. We love Jim. And we have a good department today also. We
Yes.
have a lot of fine deputies who do a lot of great work. And I love working. I love my job, appreciate my job, and I don't ever want to leave again until they run me off out of there.
Tell everybody what you're doing over there, Chip.
Well, when I came back and I had an opportunity, I wanted to do heat and air work. That's what my new life has been the last 4 or 5 years. And so they allowed me to do that, but they said, when you're not doing that, will you do this? I said, well, sure. So I've been handling jail programs. We have about 35 volunteer groups who come in and deal for our inmates, involving about 125 people. The concept is we don't want inmates just to lay out their time and not benefit at all from it. For an example, a PhD, a lady from Cleveland State, has started a book club. And she has these ladies, and she's improving their reading skills, comprehension skills, and they're going through To Kill a Mockingbird, Debbie.
I love it.
Just an old
Mhm.
classic, and a lot of preaching, a lot of Bible teaching, a lot of good things. A young man came a couple of days ago. He has been released from jail, and he's homeless. And he asked for me, and I went outside to talk with him. Had his young wife with him to have a baby, and I was able to hook them up with some good friends out at Shenandoah Baptist Church, who then would provide him some housing for a night or two while he gets his feet on the ground. So, the idea is to reduce recidivism. We don't want these guys coming back and these gals, and so while they're there, now they're in jail, and believe me, people would say, I like to spend some time with them. No, you wouldn't either. No, you would not either. An 8x8 concrete walled concrete floors, loud. It's not a comfortable place to be at all. But while they're there, they're humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I have people say, well, I'll tell you one thing, I wouldn't do this or that. I said, you would if it was your son over there. Or if it was your grandson, you would. Now, you wouldn't be talking that way. And, you can kind of bring people around to understand that this is not a third world country. These inmates do have rights, and they need to be treated at least as best we can within the system that we have. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a bleeding heart for inmates, don't get me wrong, but if we can teach an inmate to do a skill or to read or to improve his decisions and choices in life, and they don't come back, it saves me new money.
Exactly. I agree with you. And the Sheriff's Department does a good job. I want to mention the Cleveland Police Department.
Yes.
They've been the butt of a lot of jokes lately, but 99.9% of the Cleveland Police Department are excellent young men and women who do great jobs. Our community is very safe here between the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department, Charleston Police Department, that we have here. They do great jobs, and we don't ever hear those stories on the front page of the papers. When something glamorous, I call it glamorous for the lack of a better term right now, high interest, controversy, that makes the front page. An officer
them changing somebody's tire in the rain does not make the front page.
Yeah, that's right.
Or, an officer just going by, the officers that work at the schools and what they mean to those kids. Those kids know a police officer now, which I think is a great pro. There's some costs involved in that, but, in our day society, with the fears that we have, I think it's worth every penny we do.
Elvis, how long did you work at Bradley High School? You might have been the first SRO in Bradley County history.
A little over 2 years.
Is that all? It seemed like 100.
I know. But that was an experience. I still get people come up to me in restaurants and everything and said, "Aren't you Mr. Brandon?" I said, "Yes." "You were security at Bradley High School while I was there."
Yeah.
And, and they're grown now.
Have children.
Got kids that are in Bradley themselves, I think.
Deb has students who have grandchildren.
Not quite.
Well.
Or my sister Lori Raper, who I just absolutely, she's in her 30th year, Debbie, at Prospect. And I keep asking, you going back next year, going back? And she just doesn't know. Lou Horner, her good friend, retired a couple of years ago.
Did she?
And Lou's in the Lions Club with me. Hello to Lou. We have, it's a good community. When you think about our school systems, public safety, our fire department, ambulance, even our medical community, it's a great place to live. It's a good town.
I always say that people in Bradley County and Cleveland get a supersonic bang for their buck in education here.
No, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no doubt.
And those other things are really good too. But, you hear all this garbage going on about not doing this and doing this in education. They just need to leave the teachers alone in Bradley County and let them do their job.
Amen.
There you go.
Yeah, Miss Brandon right over here. Elvis knows about that, don't you?
Yeah, sure do.
And 74,
and
in 74 we had the big tornadoes come through, and then we've had tornadoes. It was amazing what law enforcement and the utility companies here did during both of those tornadoes. I know this last big one that come through the Dalton Pike area, I was amazed that Cleveland Utilities got the power up. The main power for in that area was back up within just a day or two. I don't know how they did it.
Right.
I mean, that was amazing to those people.
We had people that survived here for months after the 2011 tornado, that things were damaged so badly. I know a friend of mine out on Durkee Road didn't get power for 6 weeks or something.
Wow, yeah.
And that's a long time these days to live without power.
But that was a
but
major.
She was in a pocket, and it was kind of like you got to get the masses
had
on
to get
first.
the masses on. That's exactly right.
But those poles were taken off at the ground.
If I want to say in closing here, we're coming up is that law enforcement is a dangerous job. We talked about the murder of Israel Smith. We talked about a few officers who've been killed in line of duty. That could happen to any officer, any day, any time. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't want to become a Columbine, but it's always possible. And it's what our police do there to protect. If we lose the life, these guys have been out there working for years, and we appreciate them so much. It's dangerous. Chip, you and I done it. Elvis done it. We'll probably look back and say, sure, I'm glad I'm still here. So anyway, why did I do that?
It can happen in the blink of an eye.
But just want to thank all those people who do it. And just this murder here just shows you it could happen any day, any time, for any reason.
We thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun.
Elvis, you got any final comments?
I'm flabbergasted, really. There's so much that I have remembered now that you prodded me about.
Isn't that fun? You'll have to come back
My
sometime.
time in law enforcement, that, it's just overwhelming in a way. But I'm proud to be here. I'm thankful that Chip called me and invited me to come, and you all have been so gracious, and I appreciate it so much.
Now, Elvis, are you singing these days?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you singing? Tell everybody.
Well, I retired as a minister of music after over 55 years, but I sing at Morningside Home every Tuesday morning.
Okay.
I sing at North Cleveland Towers once a month on Wednesdays. I sing at different functions at church and things like that. But I'm not employed as a minister of music now.
But Elvis is still giving just like he's always done.
Mhm.
Isn't that amazing? Thank you, Elvis.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so good to see you.
It's just a thing. I was called to do this, and I honor my calling.
There you go.
I'm very pleased.
Maybe he could sing on your show some morning.
There you go.
There you go.
Chip, any final comments?
Thank you for having us. Thank you for your interest in Sheriff Israel Smith and the Bradley County Sheriff's Office, and just thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
And folks, don't forget, pull out those old stolen Rebel trays. We got to have one of them for this
Anything
exhibit.
to do with the restaurants around here, grand lunch menus.
Menus,
I know you got a big
matches.
menu poster. You did down at
It's
the
hanging
restaurant.
in the dining room. Of course, I sold the Rebel.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me for that. But the Rebel's open this morning, doing just fine.
But you own the building.
I own the building, and some of that stuff that I'm sure that
They would loan us for the.
I think he would loan it to us. I hope
He
that
would like to keep the Rebel name going.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
He's done a good job, by the way.
And also, it's amnesty. You wouldn't charge anybody
Yeah.
for see.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
no.
and
there's
we'll-
no charge.
and
No, you're right.
We will return your stolen tray
Well,
to you.
Maybe. I don't know.
But folks, if you have things seriously from the old Ford Inn or the Rebel or
Country Kitchen.
the spot,
Down
the
on
Country
South Lee.
Kitchen,
A
the
grand lunch
Cherokee.
menu would be worth
the
some money.
grand
wouldn't it?
lunch.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we'd just really like to, like Elvis says today, bring back some memories by just seeing these things. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Mountain Cove will be here.
Great. And I always say, you got to get those pictures out from under the bed and out of the closet and out of the shoe boxes. Get you some little white peel-off labels and get someone in your family to help you to say who's in those pictures. Because every day when someone passes in our community, we lose a little history here.
Okay.
So if you'll write it down, take out a tape recorder, your telephone, your a movie camera, and record your grandfather, your grandmothers, your aunts, your uncles, and that, because their stories will be gone also. And just think 20 years from now, if you could hear your grandfather's voice again. I've got a recording of my grandfather, and it's so great to hear his voice, and it just brings back so many memories. So we got to save history. And as I always say, everyone will remember Pearl Harbor, but
Will they remember Aunt Pearl? See you
I
guys
don't
next
know.
week.
I'll
Bye-bye.
see you. Bye-bye now. Here we go. We're out of here.
I like that. Do y'all say that every week?
Yeah, we say that every week.
Where'd the old town go? They moved it all north of here in a shopping mall. Ooh, where'd the old town go? Did my hometown get old? Or just me? Did all my friends get old? Or just me? Are they all gonna have to be told? Or just me?
You are listening to WOOP-LP, Cleveland, Tennessee. Whoop FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Check into cash.